How's it going, everyone? It is Andre Williams, and over here we talk stocks and we focus on one thing. Always protect your profits. And today we're going to be talking about SOFI, which had a strong green day inside of the market. If you guys remember in my previous video, I said we should be making a push above $11 going into earnings. And what happened today? Looks like in the after hours, we're trying to get to $12. Of course, we still have tomorrow. You know what? I'll talk about it further in this video. I won't waste any more time. Let's jump into the agenda. If you're new to this channel, I just want to let you know we have timestamps down below inside the description. But if you're a shareholder or you're thinking about taking a position, I highly suggest you watch this full entire video. So the first thing we're going to go over is a technical analysis. We're going to be taking a look at the overall price action. We want to know support. We want to know resistance. We want to know what it looks like in the bearish case scenario and as well as in the bullish case scenario. And then we're going to go on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information. The reason this is important because it does have an impact on the way the stock performs. And then we're going to take a look at the order flow distribution. We want to know the buying and the selling behavior on the retail side and as well as on the institutional side. And then when all of that is done, we'll be going into the final thoughts and as well as some more details. So let's get to it. So we're going to do a technical analysis on SOFI. Let's see how it performed on the day. So it ended up closing at $11.45, being up 7.31%. On the low, it tested $10.67, and then on the high, testing $11.76. When we take a look at the volume stats on the day, you can see we traded at 63.565 million shares, and the average volume over 10 trading days is at 60.581 million shares. So we did have above average volume on the day, and it's part of the reasons why we saw strength in the stock. Now, when we take a look at our chart, which is a daily chart, you can see from the RSI down below, it is at 45.97. And then when we take a look at our moving averages here on the chart, we are below the 200-day, the 100-day, the 50-day, and we are just below the 21-day EMA. We closed at 1145, and the 21-day EMA is at 1179. We tested 1176 on the day. I wanted us to actually get past this level so we can make that move to $12, but we still have tomorrow, so that is one thing to be aware of. As far as for support, like I was saying previously, if we could use this level and be able to make that move above 11, things can look really good, and that's exactly what happened. So if we do end up having a pullback going into tomorrow, where I'd want to see support hold up, because I want to see another higher low, would be right here around $11.05. If we could hold this level, and if we end up having some strong earnings, that's where I could see SOFI getting to the 50-day right here around $13.14, and then seeing it move up even further from there. If earnings doesn't end up being that good, then I'd want to see support hold up at $10. And you guys know, if it goes below 10, I'll be loading the boat because I believe in the long-term prospects. Now, let's move on to the short interest information. So we're going to take a look at the recent institutional ownership and short interest information for SOFI. As we scroll down further on the page, green rows indicate new positions and red rows indicate closed positions. So we're going to be taking a look at the recent filings for February the 28th. So we have J&L Series Trust that purchased 4,246 shares. We also have Round Hill Meme ETF that purchased 5,892 shares. And then we have Financial Services Fund Investors Class that purchased 13,453 shares. We also have Ridex Variable Trust that purchased 4,716 shares. And then we have Global Strategist Portfolio Class 1 with 278 shares. And then we have Global Strategist Portfolio Class A shares that purchased 1,224 shares. And then we have Blackstone Alternative Investment Funds with a short position of 2,100 shares. And then we have Bridge Builder Small Mid Cap Growth Fund that purchased 485,317 shares. And then when we take a look now at our graph over here, we see that institutions have been loading up on SOFI as of late. So that is great news for our long-term investors. So now when we take a look at the short interest, the off-exchange short volume ratio is at 41.15%. And then for the off-exchange short volume, it is just over 9.97 million shares. Scrolling down further on the page, the short shares availability is at 10 million, updated 11 minutes ago. And then for the short ball fee rate, it is at 0.65%. And then when we take a look at the history of the short volume, we could see for the close of the 24th, it is at 39.17. And then for the close of the 25th, being at 41.15. So what this shows us right away, SOFI does continue to have short squeeze potential. So let's move on to the order flow distribution. Now let's take a look at the order flow distribution for SOFI. So on the inflow, it's at 164, and then on the outflow, it's at 144. So we had an inflow day. Keep in mind, these numbers are in the millions. Taking a look at the breakdown, on the large, it was 17.75. On the medium, it was 94.00. And then on the small, it was 52.15. Taking a look at the outflow side, you can see on the large, it was 3.15. On the medium, 91.68. And then on the small, it was 49.52. Taking a look at the large scale orders in the last 5 days, you could see for today, February 28th, it being that big inflow of 14.59 million. And we also saw on the 24th being at 8.87 million. So what that tells us, for the past 5 trading days, the inflows have been a lot larger than the outflows. Very good sign. Now, when we analyze the numbers even further for the small scale orders that tends to represent the retail side, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at what happened on the medium, we had more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the large, represents whales, institutions, or funds, we had a lot more buying than we had selling. And then when we take a look at the turnover ratio, it was at 7.92%. So yes, that's up there, but we know that SOFI is a volatile stock and it gets a lot of attention. But one thing that was very clear, it did exactly what we wanted it to do and what we talked about in the previous video. So going into earnings, are we going to be able to make that move to $12? Well, if it continues to have all this demand inside of the market, I don't see why not. So now let's get into the final thoughts and we'll go over some more details as well. So for my final thoughts for SOFI, I'm very excited for earnings that is coming up. Keep in mind, it's going to be tomorrow or on Tuesday after the close. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for an earnings beat. I think that would be a good look for this stock, and that's where we can make that move and get above $13. If we don't get an earnings beat, I won't be frustrated at all because I believe in the long-term prospects. So even if we have a big time pullback and if I can get some more shares below $10, I will be excited. But one thing that is very clear as far as for the short-term price action, since we got that key level and that strong move above $11, I want to see us get to 12 right before the close. I feel this is very doable, and if you are going to be considering to jump into this play, this is not financial advice. I'd wait for that pullback right at the open and then make your move from there. Also, pay attention to the overall market conditions. This is very crucial. Many people were saying with all of the tensions going on between Ukraine and Russia over the weekend, the market was going to do bad. But guess what? A lot of stocks had the opportunity to run up, especially inside of the tech sector. So this is why I say doing your homework, doing your due diligence, and paying attention to the price action can help you go a long way if you're going to be looking at trading this. Also, when we went on Fintel, taking a look at the recent institutional ownership, institutions are continuing to load up on shares. Plus, on top of that, the play does continue to have short squeeze potential. And from what we saw from the order flow distribution, there's a lot of demand in the market from whales and as well as retail investors. So that's why I say keep a very close eye, especially if we end up having an earnings beat. I can't even imagine what Wednesday would look like for this stock. But aside from that, I don't want to get you guys too hyped up and so forth. We have to remain neutral and just know whatever the price action gives us, there's always going to be an opportunity whether you're a trader. And if you're an investor, I would use patience. You don't need to be rushing into these plays, especially around earnings. But if you feel like they're going to have a big time beat, the price will move up, but you have to understand we do have volatility for this year. We're going to be looking at higher interest rates and so forth. Plus, we know that SOFI just had their bank charter, so that's something they could also bank on as well. But anyways, let's see how the stock performs going into tomorrow. You can tell from my expression, I'm very excited, and I will make sure to keep you guys updated and inside of the loop on the news that I get. We'll talk soon.